Welcome to Rewrite the Story. I am Ron Simplified Myers, your uplifting life partner. And before I say anything else, I want you to know something. I am not here as someone who studied grief from the outside. I am here as someone who lived it from the inside. 32 years with the woman I loved. 17 of those years watching her fight cancer with a grace that still takes my breath away when I think about it. I know what it is to lose the person who made the world feel safe. I know what it is to wake up in a house that used to feel like home and suddenly feel like a stranger in your own life. I know that specific kind of silence, the one that is not peaceful, the one that is loud in a way nobody warned you about. So when I talk to you today, I am not talking down to you. I am talking with you as a fellow traveler who has walked this road and is still walking it. Today we are talking about emotional safety. And I want to start by asking you something that might feel uncomfortable. When was the last time you felt truly safe? Not physically safe, emotionally safe. The kind of safe where you could let your guard all the way down, where you did not have to manage how you were coming across, where you could be confused and scared and not have it together and still feel like the ground was solid underneath you. For most of us, that person was our wife. She was the place you went when the world was too much. She was the one who could read your face before you said a word, who knew the difference between the silence that meant you were fine and the silence that meant you were not, who did not need you to explain yourself because she already understood. That is what emotional safety feels like when you have it. And that is exactly what makes losing it so disorienting. Because you did not just lose a person. You lost the place where you got to be fully human. And now you are walking around in a world that expects you to function, to show up to work, to take care of the kids, to answer the question of how are you doing with fine when fine is the furthest thing from the truth. And inside you're carrying something that has no good place to land. That is not weakness. That is what happens when the foundation gets pulled out from under you. So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that rebuilding after loss is not just about processing grief. It is about rebuilding your emotional foundation, the internal structure that tells you it is okay to feel what you feel, that you are not falling apart, that you are still a man of substance and worth and purpose, even in the middle of the hardest season of your life. Because here's what nobody tells you about grief. It does not just take your person. It takes your sense of safety. And you cannot begin to build anything new routines, new relationships, new chapters on a foundation that is still cracked and shaking. You have to build the safety first. And here's the part that surprises most men when I tell them this. You cannot get that safety from another person. Not yet. Not in this season. The emotional safety I am talking about, the foundation I am talking about, my split has to be built from the inside out. It starts with you deciding that you are allowed to grieve without a timeline, that you are allowed to have days where you cannot hold it together, that you are allowed to miss her out loud in the car at 3 a.m, in the middle of a grocery store, when a song comes on that was hers. That all of it is allowed. None of it makes you broken. All of it makes you human. Let me tell you about something I call the armor habit. It is something I see in almost every man who has lost a spouse, and it is something I fought in myself. The armor habit is the tendency to protect yourself from your own grief by staying busy, by staying productive, by measuring your worth, by how functional you appear to the people around you. You fill the calendar. You throw yourself into work. You take on more so you have less room to feel. And it works for a while. The armor keeps the pain at a distance, but armor's heavy, and you cannot wear it forever. And here's the cost nobody talks about. When you armor up against grief, you armor up against everything else too. Against connection, against joy, against the moments that are trying to reach you and remind you that life still has something to offer. The same walls that keep the pain out, keep everything else out too. And after a while, you are not protected. You are just isolated. And isolation dressed up as strength is one of the loneliest places a man can live. So how do you start building real emotional safety? Let me give you 3 things that actually work. The first is giving yourself permission to name what you are feeling without judging it, not performing emotions for someone else, not analyzing whether your grief is proportionate, just honest naming. I am angry today. I am exhausted today. I miss her in a way that is physical today. It sits in my chest like something heavy. When you name it without judging it, you take back a small piece of control. You are not being swept away by the feeling. You are standing next to it and saying, I see you and I am not afraid of you. The second is finding one person or one space where you can be completely unguarded. Not the whole world. Just one. A friend who does not need you to be okay. A journal that has no audience. A quiet drive where you can say out loud what you cannot say anywhere else. You need at least one place where the armor comes off. because carrying it every single moment is costing you more than you realize. The third is reconnecting with what Ron Simplified Myers calls your core identity. The things that are true about you that loss cannot touch. Not your role as a husband. Not your identity as her partner. The things underneath that. Your values. Your character. The kind of man you were before her and the kind of man she saw in you and believed in. That man is still here. Grief has not erased him. He is just buried under the weight of everything you are carrying. And finding him again, even in small moments, is how you start to feel safe inside your own skin again. I want to close today with something I carry from my own journey. There was a season after I lost her where I genuinely did not know who I was without her. 32 years. She was woven into everything. My morning, my decisions, my sense of direction. And when she was gone, I felt like a compass with no north, spinning, unsure which way to point. And what I learned, slowly, imperfectly, in fits and starts, is that north was not gone. It was just quiet. And the way I found it again was not by looking outward for something to orient me. It was by going inward, by sitting with myself long enough and honestly enough to hear the things I had been drowning out with busyness and performance and armor. You are not lost. You are in the middle of a rewrite. And rewrites are supposed to be messy. They are supposed to feel uncertain. That is not a sign that something is wrong. That is a sign that something real is happening. And something real is the beginning of something new. You are not broken. Your story is, and stories can change. Thank you for being here with me on Rewrite the Story. I am Ron Simplified Myers, your uplifting life partner. If this episode reached you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And come back every Monday, because we are just getting started. And most important, remember, you are extraordinary.